We have this disconnect from Hanoi and Washington, and on top of that, we had a summit take place where apparently, and it seems on the face of it, that little or no groundwork was undertaken. What went wrong?
I think there are a number of things that went wrong. First of all, you highlighted the fact that the preparations were not particularly well done. Part of it is that for both North Korea and for the United States, there are leaders who tend to be involved and very directly involved in making the decisions. They don't want to leave those decisions up to anyone else. And I think there was a concern, certainly, that that might have been the problem, that there wasn't enough time allowed, that there wasn't enough leeway given those that were involved in terms of making those decisions. Donald Trump is a real estate investor. When you're dealing with real estate, you buy, you sell. You don't have to have a relationship. All you need to know is if they have enough money in the bank to follow up on their promises. When you're dealing with diplomacy, it's more complicated, and I think he found that out. On the other hand, Kim Jong Un may well have overplayed his hand with the information that was coming from Washington yesterday about the Cohen hearings with the Congress, the problems that he was raising. Kim may have felt like Trump was more willing to accept any agreement that was offered, and there may have been miscalculations on both sides.
Sir, this is Stephen Engel here in Hanoi. Let me ask you, do you think that the White House perhaps might have already had this baked in the pan to walk away if the North Koreans did not come up with a better idea, or excuse me, a better proposal, and that Donald Trump took a lot of consternation for a watered down statement a year ago or 8 months ago, and that was the plan perhaps all along, to walk away?
It may well have been. Trump's art of the deal, which explains how you negotiate, suggests that you've got to be ready to walk away. And he may well have done that as a bargaining tactic. Hard to believe that he wanted a failure. And there certainly seems to be a real possibility that this could create difficulties that will be more complicated to overcome.
Robert, David here in Hong Kong. I just want to flag a line that's just coming through right now out of the Yonhap news agency that Kim Jong Un, of course, who is on his way back, might actually stop over and meet Xi Jinping before he proceeds back to North Korea. And I guess to that idea of where we go next here, Robert, I mean, negotiations 101, right? Like, know the point at which you and the person across will walk away from the table. Now that we have a better idea of what those limits and parameters are, what do you think will be the practical talking points if indeed we do find ourselves at another summit?
It seems to me very clear that both Hanoi and Washington are indicating an interest in continuing the negotiation. I think there's going to be some regrouping on both sides in terms of looking at where we are, how far we got, what the possibilities are for moving ahead, and I hope there'll be an opportunity for other individuals to prepare the way and get something in place before you get the two leaders together. I think
finally here, does the fact that there's been some let me ask you about Beijing's role, though. There has been, of course, some consternation between the United States and Beijing over trade. Do you believe this could impact negatively any restart of talks with North Koreans, between the United States and North Korea?
China clearly plays a key role. Most of North Korea's foreign trade comes from, or through at least, China, 90%. China is a key player in terms of the sanctions and where we are on those sanctions. The role that China has played in supporting the UN sanctions has been the reason they have been so effective. Probably more than anything, that has led to an improvement in relations between the Chinese and the North Koreans. Kim Jong Un has been to Beijing several times in the last 12 months. He did not visit Beijing during the 5 years before that. So clearly, he is hoping to improve the relationship with China in the hopes of being able to deal with this issue. I think China is going to play a role in the process. The fact that Trump has provoked the trade conflict is not particularly helpful.
Robert, very last question quickly here. We had, of course, all of this overshadowed by the Cohen testimony there in Congress. Many people say that it was just vengeful at the end of the day. After all, the man is a convicted liar, they point out. But one also has to ask whether he has any credibility, considering he was right beside Donald Trump while the then not president, then the businessman, was being a fraudster, as he put it, and a racist, as he put it.
It's very clear that Cohen has spent enough time with Trump that he does speak with some experience. Yes, he is a convicted liar. I think part of what he is attempting to do now is to redeem himself. He severed his ties with Trump. He's going to prison. He knows that's going to happen. And I think what he's trying to do is set things right before he goes. Now, clearly, you don't accept what anyone says, particularly a convicted liar, without making an effort to check and to follow up and to see if, in fact, they are true. And I think that is what the Congress will do. The Democratic leadership of the committee will continue to follow through on issues that have been raised and follow up to see if what Cohen is claiming about Trump is true. It was very interesting because the Republicans made no effort to defend the president. They made every effort to undermine the credibility of Cohen, whereas the Democrats were on the committee were looking at what does this tell us? What are the issues we need to follow through?